welcome back to Men Know Nothing. This is episode 51.
51.
I'm Dan.
Dwayne.
This is Dwayne, and this is the podcast giving you the unqualified advice you never ask for on a regular basis. And we have got both Anna and Jess with us today. We've got two sex workers on the show, and we're going to be diving deep into a fucking heap of questions.
Yes.
And really excited that you guys are on. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah.
Are
you nervous?
Thank you for having us.
You don't seem nervous.
Nervous, but also really excited.
Yeah, you're just chilling.
Yeah, nervous, but also really excited. I mean, Anna and me have had so many discussions over the years. Like, I've gone looking for podcasts, books, articles, blogs about the type of conversation we're about to have, and it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff from sex workers about sex workers, but nothing from sex workers to non-sex workers.
Yeah.
It's this real interesting disconnect. And there's no handbook for it. There's no handbook how to navigate those relationships, even with friends, partners, whatever. So, yeah.
Well, I'm hoping with this episode, we can maybe open up that dialogue, healthy dialogue about your experiences in the dating realm. But before we actually get in, so before we start every episode, we have a voice note or a message in from a listener who gives us a situation. Which is how you came into this situation.
Yes, the poor guy in Melbourne that dated the escort that didn't know she was. Come on, man. You're out there. Come on, man.
Yeah, there were some serious signs. There were some serious signs he just didn't pick up on. Her getting back every night like 4 a.m. He's like, bro, how did you not know?
Her just having a luxury apartment, but not really knowing what she does for work.
It's like a very nice apartment to see.
He's no idea why.
He laughed at her because, like, everything he was saying she did, I've definitely done before.
I love that.
And it was just so funny, like, just being really vague that she was out really late at night with her friends, but she lives in this really nice place by herself.
But I think that comes into, like, a bit of that male disillusion. Like, a lot of men think that women's lives are a lot cheaper and easier than they are. Like, they're like, oh, your nail is $50 or that. Like, they don't really understand what it costs to be a woman. So they're probably like, oh, she probably just spends a lot of money on rent or something. Like, you know what I mean? They don't really, like, think. A lot of guys just don't think into what it like costs to be a woman.
Like $600 lingerie set.
What?
Yeah, see?
Yeah, wow. I spend like $60 on my Bonds boxes.
Like every 10 years.
I've left lingerie at jobs, and I've asked the client, like, I really need that back. And they're like, it's just underwear. And I'm like, that is a $300 garter belt. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fair.
To be fair, though, a lot of it lasts, like, years. Like, I have a robe from, like, literally 6 years ago that's still
you're probably not wearing it all the time. It's like special occasion.
It's made of, like, really good material.
Oh, okay.
And it's, like...
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Right, well, let's read this first. What would you do? And
what would you do?
You guys let me know what you think.
Oh, this is what we've been doing for years.
Yeah, no one asked for it, but we still give it.
Do you know what's better than giving qualified advice? Unqualified advice. It's much funnier because you don't have to care.
All right, here we go. So I was seeing this guy recently, and we were practically joined at the hip during the early stages of the dating. We owe it all to a mutual friend for bringing us together, from good dinners to mouth-watering cooking skills. We were having a blast. But then something happened that got under my skin. Picture this. We're getting hot and heavy doing the deed when out of the blue, he finishes before I even get close to finishing. Look, I get it. Timing can be off sometimes, but seriously, I expected a little help in getting there. You know, a gentleman's move to make sure I'm not left hanging. I just wanted to lie there and feel amazing and satisfied. So after he's done, he excuses himself and goes to the bathroom very quick. No biggie. But when he comes back, he decides to go down on me. Now, usually I'm all about being on top to get where I need to go, but obviously that wasn't going to happen this time. I closed my eyes, enjoying the pleasure that he was giving me. But all of a sudden, when I open my eyes, I get a sense that he suddenly stopped. Guess what this dude was doing? He has his head in between my legs, going down on me, and there he was, checking his damn phone or a text message.
Oh, wait, no, that was a real big overreaction on my part, because I've definitely done that.
Can you believe it? I was shocked. Yeah. Yeah. Utterly shocked that he thought it was the right time to multitask and check messages while he was supposed to be going down on me. It totally dried me up and it gave me the ick. Needless to say, a few days later, I pulled the plug on the whole thing. I just couldn't shake off the incident. Now, here's where I need your take on this. Am I wrong for letting that moment get to me and influence my decision? How would you handle this?
I really want to know, who did he message?
His mum.
Who in that moment?
It was his
like,
mum.
Who was that?
One of the boys like, oh, did you check the footy score? Literally, that is
It
what
would
it
have been the
probably
most mundane thing.
Oh.
But my first thing about that is she was so surprised that he finished before her. Like,
Yeah,
that's a very regular
For a
occurrence.
second, I was like, why are you putting my private life on this podcast? That's no other going on.
I was like, why does wow, she must be having good sex elsewhere because that's pretty regular.
Yeah.
No, I would. That's definitely. I would. That's definitely ick. I would.
Yeah.
I would maybe continue fucking them, but I wouldn't date them.
Or you can continue sleeping with them even after.
If it was good, yeah.
Yeah.
If the juice was worth the squeeze, but it would be
Yeah,
like kind of
I love that.
disrespectful. Like, come over, have sex, and then I'd be like, you can leave now. Like, it wouldn't be,
Oh,
any
that
more than
sounds
that.
perfect.
But also, like in his mind, like how did he think that conversation was going to go? Do you know what I mean? Because he either had the phone above and he's trying to multitask, or
But
he
must have been
stopped.
to the he stopped. He stopped.
That's the thing. Like, how do you think that conversation's going to go? Like, what do you do?
He was obviously in full autopilot and just wasn't even considering what he was doing. He kind of the phone must have lit up beside him and he's looked across, so he's maybe just grabbed it.
It's either that, right? It's either like the phone lit up, but what if he never got a message? What if he just got bored and just wanted to just scroll through
Nah,
his
he
message?
got a message.
He got a message?
Yeah. I asked follow questions. He got
Okay,
a
yeah,
message.
fair.
Yeah.
The fact he could multitask like that, I'm almost impressed.
But he wasn't
Oh, I
multitasking
cannot-
because he just stopped.
Oh, he just
He
stopped
stopped
and was like-
licking. Yeah, that's why she opened her eyes and was like, "What's going on?"
That
was this man.
If that was the other way around, I would be like, "What are you doing? What the fuck? What's happening here? Why are you on your phone?"
I've definitely, in my personal life, have been having sex and I've gotten a message and I've checked it. I've just been like, the fuck? I'm just like, sorry, 'cause I mean,
An emergency. How long you planning for going for?
but then there's
Another
definitely,
client messaging me. Fuck, I gotta go.
but yeah, there's been times at work where I'll be doing whatever, facing away, and I'll have my phone under the bed, and I'll be like,
I wonder if that's happened to me.
and then
do
you're
you
like,
do
oh,
that?
I haven't moaned in a while.
Women are better multitaskers than
Yes.
men, though. Like, I could definitely not get away with that. There's no way.
the issue in this situation.
Do you not?
Oh, okay. Okay, so if it would have happened to you,
Okay,
what would you have
okay,
done?
They've started to date for a little while. Okay, it would be an issue if it was the first or second time they slept together, for sure. Because it'd be he's just not that into you. But once you get comfortable and stuff, he's obviously comfortable with her. And it's just a one-off incident. I feel like it's literally just a quick conversation. That made me upset sort of thing, communication, and get over it.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
probably
good perspective.
Also, she probably didn't care.
Shouldn't he come first sometimes? I get it. Men should put women's pleasure first.
Finally.
What's the problem with
Someone speaking for the unheard voice. When do we ever get our voice heard?
I will pick you. Pick me, just fucking pick me, girl. But I just don't see I don't see that much of a problem
That's a
at
really
all.
good point.
I think what the issue is, though, is that for a lot of women, men come first a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
they never actually do get off. That's
Yeah.
the issue. I think if it was a case where they always do get off,
Yeah.
I don't think they're
Exactly.
stressed, but they probably experienced
Yeah.
so many sexual encounters where the guy comes and then they never come, and they're like, "Well, I don't
It
like
sounds like she's triggered by a previous partner who probably didn't have the strongest sexual desire for her, or the sexual desire lessened over time, and so now this has triggered her because she's used to this
Yeah, that's the
certain level and certain energy, and she's like, oh, am I, is this going to happen again?
But it's
Yeah,
a really
that's a
good
very good point.
perspective shift to say he feels so comfortable. Because that's turning it into a positive.
But he could
Almost.
but he could just be saying that as a way to
It'd be worse if he was
Yeah.
texting and going down on it. You know what I mean? The fact that he stopped. Maybe I'm overanalyzing this, but
No, but I'm also as well
Also,
yeah.
okay, this also could, this is circumstantial. He could have a sick mum who is on her deathbed.
wow.
Well, it wasn't that. I know what the message was.
Are you allowed to dive out? What was it? A mum? Was it a friend?
It was a
like-
friend, yeah.
But what was it to do? Was it to do
I
with?
think it was to do with someone was meant to be coming over, but then they already knew that the person was coming over, and he then said, "Oh, I'm checking to see if this person's coming over," and she was like, "But we already knew that they were coming over, so why are you checking your phone?"
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like he already
We're like,
apparently
we don't see the problem.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem.
they already knew that the reason he gave they already had the answer for, so she's like, but also she ended because she's like, I didn't care enough to even have the
Yeah, fair.
conversation. I
Yeah.
don't think she mentioned it because she's like, I don't want to really date him, so there's no point trying to fix it, you know what I mean? So I think she just ended it, and that
But
was
then
that.
it's pretty cool that he came and then he returned to her.
Came back to the
And yeah,
to the
'cause,
dungeon.
yeah, that's a big gold star.
Most guys wouldn't do that.
Most guys would be like, "Oh well, I'm done."
Yeah. TV on.
Yeah, TV on. Like,
Just straight to the...
Okay, so in terms of the answer, what would you do then, Jess?
I'm really conflicted because, yes, it's ick, but also he came and then returned to her.
Yeah,
like
that's,
that's
okay.
that's
fair.
yeah, that's a needle in a haystack.
She's got herself a good man there.
Yeah,
What about you, Yana?
She didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, just communicate and then get over it.
he was
I just
communicating with
don't.
his friend on his phone.
Yeah, just say like.
Sorry, I'm
something
taking a
that-
quick
that
phone call,
upset
okay?
me. Like, look, I am very sensitive, so that would definitely upset me at the time.
Yeah, fair.
But once I register my emotions, I'd be like, there's a reason you get upset over that.
Yeah.
If you're someone that's only ever been in healthy relationships, you probably wouldn't even think much of that. There's obviously coming from some sort of place, I feel, to really get actually proper upset.
Yeah, fair.
What would you do, John?
I probably wouldn't have got on my phone. I'm usually like,
No, if you were the guy getting head and the girl was on the...
oh, it depends how good it is. If it's phenomenal, just do whatever you want. If it's shit, look, we should just stop this anyway.
If the head game's good, then I'll accept whatever you do right now. If you need the phone to perform, keep that phone out.
That's fine. Women are great multitaskers, so I'm like, you do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'd be annoyed if they did it to me, though. I'd be like, what are you doing?
But you could do it, right?
No,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No.
I'm busy at the moment. I'll call you back.
I'm usually just fully in the game.
Yeah.
Usually. I'm not
Usually in the game for like at least 2-3 minutes, and then like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah,
the best 2 minutes of your life.
gone in 60 seconds.
Those are the
Okay.
most satisfactory minutes of your life.
All right, well, thank you for the first segment. So obviously we've said at the start of the episode that we have these two lovely ladies who work in the sex working industry. But first of all, we want to get like a bit of a
Yeah.
backstory. When did you guys get into it and why?
Yeah. Like, how did you get into this? Like, what did you do before to kind of... Because obviously something you would have started somewhere, and then from there it maybe would have built up over time.
Yeah, do you want to go first, Anne?
Yeah, go for gold. Let's open the floor.
Ha.
Okay, so
Here
the
we go.
reason I got into the industry was I just turned 20, and all of my friends were in long-term relationships that they'd been in since they were like 16, right? My cousin was living overseas, and I was like, I had nothing to do on the weekends. Like, I was like, what do I do on the weekend, right? And I was studying at the time, and yeah, I just thought it would be something fun. And obviously, like, when you're that age, going out's expensive. And I was like, no, the money I was making wasn't much. And then my best friend actually worked with a stripper. And I would kind of hear her stories. And I was like, you know what? Like, this doesn't actually sound so bad. So I just started I went to the club. I started working. I remember how nervous I was. I really did
Were you
not eat that day.
Yeah, I was
stripping
gonna say,
straight away?
Yeah,
Was
I
it stripping
I was stripping,
first?
yeah. So I
Okay,
started.
cool,
So I
okay.
started stripping, and I did that for like 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. And I didn't really think I was gonna stop stripping, but the industry did change a lot. And
In terms of what?
I had a club I really liked to work at, in Five Dock, and the club actually closed down because a lot of police issues and stuff. Which, yeah, that's another story. But
We're not
going into
details.
yeah, we won't go into the details. But yeah, it was. I don't know. It was a good environment, but at the same time, the clubs have really started to die out, and they just kept upping the prices. And the guys are just like, I'm not spending $500 an hour to just what? So
Oh, she said you said lockouts came in?
Yeah, the lockouts
so
came in.
I would have probably had
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
good
just a
point.
lot of things have changed, and yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then I felt like at the time, I just didn't have. I didn't have a good relationship with men, and I feel like they were always controlling me in a way, like controlling my emotions. And I feel like when I started dancing, I kind of took that power back,
Yeah,
and I started to have
definitely.
better boundaries with men, and I feel like I actually started to like men more as well.
Definitely.
I started to meet a lot of positive men in that environment, which I guess people don't think that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it actually, a lot of people say the industry makes them hate men, but it's actually made me have a better relationship with.
It's definitely made my boundaries a lot better. That's a really good point.
In terms of what?
In terms of work or in even just
Yeah.
personal life and dating and stuff like that.
In personal life and dating as well, I think it's kind of, I respect myself more in a way. Because, you know, at work you do have to have really strong boundaries. But, you know, I've been able to learn it at work and then carry it into my personal life.
Yeah,
which
because I
has been really
imagine
cool.
there'd be situations where people try and push those boundaries
Oh,
that
yeah.
you've set.
Yeah.
That's their favorite game.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
The more they see, the more they try to break those boundaries down.
Was there anything that
Unless
happened?
they like to offer.
Was there anything that happened in like the early days when you first started getting into stripping, like the most outrageous thing that maybe happened at the strip club, or something that like stands out in like your memory?
Yes. I started in a club as well, and me and my girlfriend that I worked with, we were in a room with these two guys. One of the guys' phones was going off, like non-stop ringing, and I looked at his phone, and it was obviously his wife. The guy looks at his phone, then he just literally flips, has this meltdown. He's in fetal position on the floor, and he's like, "You girls don't have to do this. I'm so fucked up that I'm here." Like, hysterical. And his mate's just like, "Bro, what the fuck? Like, get off the floor. What's wrong with you?" And he like just literally turned into a completely different person. It was like, "You girls don't have to do this. Respect yourselves better. Oh, I don't know why I'm here." Like, it was just.
What do you do in that
Whoa.
situation? Like,
it was just
Get
me.
the bouncer.
yeah.
Me and the other girl were just like,
I was gonna say, because you're not there to like, you know, like sit down and start talking about their family. You like will get it like. Do you
but
just,
that's a lot of.
No, I was going to
Oh,
say that's a
really?
lot of it. Yeah, I know strippers
wow,
who
okay, fair.
guys will just come in, purely pay money just to talk to them. Just
Yeah,
sit there and
wow.
talk.
Yep.
And you have to pretend to be interested.
You
And
hear
they
it.
love to talk about their family.
Yeah.
They start the conversation. Sometimes even like, my wife's the best, my kids are the best. Like,
Yeah.
they actually
Yeah.
enjoy.
They'll be like, "Look how hot my wife is.
Yeah.
Isn't she beautiful? Here's some photos. Oh, here's Emily's first birthday." And you're just like,
All
"Oh,
the
okay."
time.
Do you have a
Yeah.
theory of why you think, I guess, men who are married with kids go to the strip club?
Madonna Hall complex. Is that something you guys are familiar
No,
with?
no, no. What's that?
We like
Oh.
a complex.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think it is something
So
that
we'll say that word again.
Madonna Hall.
Madonna Hall complex.
Madonna.
So,
Madonna Hall, like Madonna Hall. Or
So Madonna
Hall?
is like a
Hall.
virgin. So the Madonna.
Madonna, yeah.
Oh,
so it's like, I think Freud was the.
The psychologist.
Yes.
Did he
Yeah.
actually? Sigmund Freud started this.
Yes, he did. I
That's
think
so
he was in like the
jokes.
20s or the 30s, and it was deemed a term that he used for men that were married but also had a mistress.
Okay.
And it kind of, he studied why men do that, and it's this theory that a lot of men can't see a woman as the mother of the kids, the nurturing, the stay-at-home good girl, and the sexy vixen that's going to rock his world in bed. She's one or the other.
That
She can't
makes
be
sense.
both.
Yeah.
And it's something that still to this day is huge, like massive. And I think that explains why men do go to strip clubs or they see escorts.
Or they
It's
watch
because,
porn and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because they need that release.
yeah, they've got, the woman at home who's had the kids, she's looking after the kids, but she can't be the girl that, he has wild sex with because he respects her
Too much, yeah. I used to be like that whenever I was really into a girl. For some reason, when I was really into them and liked them, it was almost like I didn't want to do anything too crazy because I like you so much and I
That-
respect you so much.
That is Madonna Hall
But
complex,
then
right?
girls that I wasn't really that into, I was so much more comfortable just to like explore. But for some reason, when I
Wow,
have
okay.
friends, I'm like, you are such an angel. I don't want to do any. I'm a little bit better at that now.
I see, that's Madonna
But
Hall
back
complex.
then, I was like,
Well,
I
I
hate
was.
to overuse a word, but it's inbuilt misogyny.
Yeah.
And it often comes from
100%.
coming from traditional ways of, how we're brought up and everything.
Yeah, I
that we
completely
think that way.
Well, I was going to say, does that usually, because I don't think I've ever felt that before, but does that usually come from like married men or men with kids and stuff like that? Because I assume as well, when you're married and with kids, it's hard to, in all areas of life, be everything all at once. Like, it's hard. You know
It's
what I
not-
mean? Like,
It's definitely not just those men. I mean, me personally, in my personal life, I've been seeing a guy, everything's great, and literally the amount of times I've had this said to me is ridiculous. But it's like, I think you're great. I really like you, but I would never date a girl that does what you do for work.
Yeah.
And then they will go and date, you know, a girl that works as a receptionist and get married and have kids with her.
Yeah, fair.
But like even after that, they will message me and be like, "Hey, I really miss like the times we used to have." And it's like, it becomes really like saddening and annoying that you can't be seen as both. So like girls like us, because of what we do for an income, even in our personal lives, we're seen as the whore.
Yeah.
Still, even though people know us on a personal level,
Yeah.
like people don't see us as someone that they can get married to or have kids with. So it's still, the Madonna whore complex is alive and well.
So how do you balance like the personal and the business life, and when it comes to, I guess, dating, like how do you navigate that? Because obviously initially when you first start hanging out with a guy, you're not going to tell them. I imagine you don't tell them straight away.
There's so much to say about
so like how long for you, Anna, anyway, when it comes to dating, that you're like, okay, I'm going to see how far I can get before I have to have that conversation if they ask you like what you do for work?
Well, when I was stripping, I used to actively date because I wasn't doing anything sexual and I had a lot of boundaries. I didn't do private, so there was a lot of things going on, and I really wanted to meet a partner. And the problem with stripping is a lot of guys don't actually have, and they mean it when they say this, they don't have a problem at the beginning. But when they, especially someone like me, I'm pretty conservative in a lot of ways, which I know it sounds contradictive, but I'm very boring. I don't drink. No, like I'm conservative in my
I know
personal
strippers.
life.
I know strippers, and they're very, very conservative
So,
in their normal life.
Yeah.
You'd never think it.
I don't have sex with guys that I'm like, obviously now I do for work, but I won't sleep with guys that I'm not like in a relationship with in my personal life. I just have very boring, I'm kind of an old soul, like, you know, hang out
You're
with my
saying you just
grandma,
like missionary as well?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
vanilla.
I'm definitely not vanilla in bed, guys. No. I've always been very sexual, but definitely not that. But I feel like then they're like, oh, they start to see me in that way. And then when the reality kicks in that I'm a stripper, it's like this cognitive dissonance for them. And then they're like, they can't handle it anymore. And it's like 3 months in, you've caught feelings, and they're like, oh, you're just in this weird place.
They're fine with it till they're not.
They're fine. Whereas with escorting, the good and the bad thing is, if they're not like, most guys are not going to be okay with it, and you're going to know from like
The
get-go. Whereas with stripping, I just found, and that's why I kind of got over it as well, like trying to date in that environment. I was like, I might as well be escorting because I can't even have a relationship that I want. I'm not having sex. I didn't have sex for 2 years. I'm not having sex at all. And I broke that vow of not having sex with a guy, and the relationship was horrible and he was cheating on me. And it just, I don't want to say like distrust in men, but I was just like, I was like, well, if I'm going to stay single and I want to have sex, I might as well get paid for it because I can't date being a stripper anyway.
Do you think that, because you were saying you don't really sleep with people outside those outside of a relationship unless it's escorting, do you think you don't do that because it will almost like, I guess, saturate that kind of connection you can build if you're going to take something seriously? Because if you do it as work, naturally you'd think that it would maybe saturate your relationship with sex. So you think if you were getting paid for it and then also just going out and having one night stands, it would actually saturate even more, and then you'd probably find it harder to connect with someone in a relationship. Do you think that's why you've...
2 reasons. Number one is when I have sex in my personal life, and like most women do, and I don't like to be a massive advocate for sex work, because as women, when we sleep with a man, a lot of the time it is an exchange of energy. And so especially in my personal life, when I allow there to be emotion, I do get very attached. So there's that. But also I feel like I've had sex with a lot of men for money who are really attractive, and because they're paying, they put in a lot more effort. And I know that sounds weird, but they like want to impress you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
if I'm
so-
paying, I'm making sure that...
She's like, she's going to be like, I was the best fuck that she ever had. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what men.
Do you make them think that?
It goes straight
No,
from
like-
2 minutes to 3 minutes. Like, they're better than that
men-
extra
I'm
60
saying, like,
seconds.
men are like, want us to think that when we
Yeah.
leave, they want us to be like, oh, that, like, she's going to be like, that's the best client she ever had. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think because a lot of men as well, they take pleasure and pride in like the woman having a good time.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's an ego thing.
yeah, it is an ego thing. Because I know people that have been sleeping with someone with a woman who's like maybe more complex in the bedroom, and then from them they can't enjoy the sex as much because they're like they're not enjoying it as much.
Yeah.
But they get more pleasure if they're like, oh, the girls had such a good time. It can. I think it can be an ego thing.
I think, unfortunately, a lot of men, and I wouldn't even say it's misogyny, I think it is biological. When you give sex easily, like say if you go on 1 or 2 dates with a guy and you have sex with them, a lot of men, they're not going to try because they've just lost respect for you. And I know that sounds horrible and it shouldn't be like that. Yeah, for sure. Like, men like what they have to work for and earn. Like, and even the fact that they pay us, I know they're not going to respect us to the level of a woman they've been chasing for months. The fact that they have to pay us like an exorbitant amount of money to sleep with us, it's kind of in a weird way giving them respect that they won't have for a girl that they've just met on a night out.
Yeah, like in my personal life, I think I've been taken on a date to dinner maybe twice,
Yeah, well, okay.
which is so fucked up. Like, I said that to a male friend recently, and he almost like fell off his chair. Like, in my personal life, I struggle to get that respect, right? For whether
Are you not dating? The thing is, are you not proactively dating? Not like proactively. Why do you think that is?
I honestly think it has a lot to do with what I do for work, how I am as a person. Like, I'm a very independent person. I mean, my male friends say that I'm super intimidating to men.
Yeah, okay.
So whatever the reason may be. But yeah, in my personal life, I really struggle to get that respect of being seen as the girl that a guy will take out to dinner and take on nice dates. It's always just the 3 a.m. you up message.
Is this because they know what you're doing, or this is they don't know anything?
I think even though, like, on my Instagram, for example, I don't specifically say it, but they get the kind of idea.
Cool.
Or they assume. But then I just think, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Like, men pay me a lot of money to take me to dinner, then take me to a 5-star hotel, and then fuck me. I get paid for that.
Yeah.
And like, you guys won't even do it. Like fuck you.
Yeah, fair point.
I find that quite interesting. The fact that because people have a gist of what you do, that they think that you're automatically going to be an easy access. But I've actually found with girls that I know who work in the sex industry, whether they're strippers or they do OnlyFans, they're the hardest to like to get into bed.
Absolutely. And
if you're not paying, obviously, like it's like what you said, it's the exchange of energy. So if you're obviously doing the job and you're getting paid for it, then outside of that, where you're actually able in the job to just be completely, I guess, purely about the job that you're doing, whereas outside that you have the emotion. I think whenever they come outside of their work and they're doing it within their personal life, they're so particular about the guys that they give their energy to and talk to, because like, I'm already doing this as a job. Like, I'm not going to then spend my emotional energy on a prick that's like not going to respect me, kind of thing. It's sometimes, this is so other side of the field. It's like how I feel with it as a videographer. When I ever started doing videography as a full-time job, 9 to 5, it kind of like ruined the whole, the love for it on another side, where I was like, I actually can't be bothered going out and filming just for the sake of it, because now it's such a job. It'll take a lot for me to actually bring my camera out and film for my passion, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Like, if I've got, say, a full cup, right? I'm not going to spend that full cup on a guy that's going to come over at 3 a.m. and fuck me for free. And then, I won't have the emotional energy to go to work the next day and get paid X amount for the same thing.
I guess that's where you're coming from when you say that you've built a level of standards over a period of time because of how you've been treated by people who do pay for it. You're like, well, if they're treating me like that and they do, the fact that people don't, like, lift up your fucking standards.
Absolutely. But then it's kind of a double-edged sword, because then the people I do end up with in my personal life are the people who are like, yeah, it's cool what you do for a job, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then they are usually not the healthiest mentally sane people.
Like, like in terms of
they're just like they're just very immature men.
Yeah,
so at first they like what you do for work, they will see as a novelty almost. And they'll be like, you know what, that's what I love about you. The fact that, you know, you don't give a fuck and you do that for work and blah, blah, blah. Like, I absolutely love it. 3 months later.
Yeah.
Do you think they just say that because they think that's what they should say? Do you think they're just trying to be PC? Do you think they're just saying that because in today's day and age, you have to be careful with what you say because then you can get cancelled? Or
I think in my experience, it's more at the beginning.
It's like initial buzz.
Everyone wants the stripper
Yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah. I was going to
until
say that, yeah.
They get into the relationship and they see you going to work and they kind of get that feeling of like, oh, fuck. And
It's like that initial
slap of it.
chemistry
Yes,
feeling.
the
Like,
ego.
oh, I want the stripper. I want
Yes.
them. I want
Yes.
it's like the trophy wife.
Yeah.
And then once you're in, they're like,
this is not what you thought it
yeah,
was.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
get home from work and they're just like, oh, you've been with men all night. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my job. You know, that was my job.
Question though for both of you. When you say, okay, you've maybe dated a guy for a few months and they're okay with it, but after a few months it starts to get a bit weird. What is the dynamic of the relationship towards the end? Do you feel like when you're really dating someone and you're also going out and working, is there a case of maybe the type of person you were at the start is maybe different because they're realizing actually the energy exchange that we were having at the start is maybe different? Or what do you think it is?
In my experiences, it's been, I feel like I've remained the same and it's been their energy has shifted. The last guy that I was seeing, dating, whatever, he was really cool with it at the start, super supportive. And then about 3 months in, as I was going to work, I'd get the silent treatment and I'd be like, what's up? And he'd just be like, nothing.
Were you living together?
Well, he came to my house one day and just never left for like 3 months. So yeah,
Okay.
essentially.
It's the passive aggression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, and it's the fact
Yep.
that he didn't want to say, oh, I'm not fine with it anymore. Like, he didn't want to say those words because he'd be biting his own words. So it would just be the passive aggression. I'd get home and I'd like give him a hug and he'd be like, go have a fucking shower. And you're just like, wow. Like,
What about you, Anna?
I found too a lot when I was stripping, or even just when I'm waitressing, like when I've dated a guy, that they think that I'm doing other things. They're always suspicious. Especially when I was stripping, I like had no intentions at that time to do anything further. And I mean, life changed, but yeah, I just felt like I was always like, once the feelings were solidified, like
It's hard to get rid of.
questioned about what I'm doing, and I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm not doing
it's funny because
anything.
my last long-term relationship, I was still working and he thought, and well, his assumption and what I told him was that I was just stripping, but I was actually escorting
Yeah.
as well. And he never knew that. So I would get home and he'd be like, oh, how was work? And I'd be like, yeah, okay, pretty normal. But then occasionally he'd be like, I just get really nervous that, you know, you're going to do something more at work, because he knew that I'd escorted before. And I was just like, no, of course not. And then, like, he never ever knew that I escorted throughout that
The question is,
relationship.
was he your actual boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my actual boyfriend.
Okay. Oh wow.
We were
Okay. Yeah.
together for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And he didn't know.
Wow.
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 To the point where, oh, it's insane. So I'd get a Uber home from work, and like your little work pack that has like your condoms, your lube and stuff, like I would have to throw it in a public bin. Or there was once I left it in the Uber because I was like, I forgot to chuck it out. I left it in the Uber and then got home, and then the next day I got a notification. It was like, the Uber driver said that you left something in the Uber, and I was just like, no, fuck off.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Yeah, so it was like living a double life. And
Did you tell him?
No.
No?
it got to the point where like I'd get home after fucking men for money and like sleep in the same bed as my boyfriend, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good on my conscience. So then the next guy that I started seeing after him, I was completely honest with, and I was like, I'm going to try it the complete other way. So I told him that I used to do that. I said, I'm really serious about this, so I'm going to stop doing full service.
Yeah.
And I did. And he was the one that, I would get home and he'd be like, don't fucking touch me, you've been at work, like horrible. And I was like, you can't fucking win either way.
This is why it doesn't. This is the thing. It just doesn't matter. Like
Yeah, you can't win either way.
the last guy I was seeing, I stopped escorting for a period of time. And at the beginning, I didn't really take him seriously. And I was like, he's actually putting in a lot of effort. And I was like, maybe this could be a relationship. And, I lost a fair amount of money by doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then I found out he was cheating on me with multiple women. But here's the catch. So he's only like
What's the
3
catch?
years older than me. They're like twice his age, like 60-something-year-old women. Yeah. I'm not being ageist here, but like it was like a lot of mums, like people that are even older than my mum.
So like
Well,
a fetish
apparently he's not. He just said that they're easier to get in bed. Yeah, and I was like,
Did you stop? So wait, did you stop escorting because he asked you to, or was that your own decision?
It was my own decision. I one day told he'd had a really colourful past. I think me and you might attract projects, maybe.
Do we need to go to therapy?
Here we go. Now we really start to get a core issues there.
Okay.
We love a project.
Yeah.
So he'd done a lot of effed up shit, right?
Yeah.
So one day we're out and he asked me, which I think is not a very nice question, but he's like, how many people have you slept with?
Oh yeah, how many
And
dicks
in
have you
my
had?
personal life, I haven't actually slept with that many people.
In
And I
your
just
professional life, can we ask that?
I
Wait.
don't even.
Oh,
wouldn't
really?
know.
Couldn't tell
It's
you.
actually
Yeah,
not that many, though, to be honest.
In your personal professional,
You would
in
say
my
like about
professional.
50, above 100,
in my
above
personal life.
professional.
Oh, professional, fuck, hundreds. I
Yeah,
don't know.
fair. And then compared to personal,
Personal, it's probably about probably 16.
yeah, fair. Okay.
Mine's like, yeah,
16, 15, be
12.
pushing it.
yeah.
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 I don't know. Anyways, I was like, well, like, do you mean it depends what we're talking? And I just kind of said,
Yeah, because you weren't really sure how to like answer it.
It was just massive judgment.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, if I were you, I wouldn't tell another guy that. ever
Did he
again."
did he try and do the thing? So people ask me like, how many people have you slept with? And I'm like, personal or
Or your
professional? And
yeah, or
then
your
they're like, no,
clients
it's
asking you
still
that.
the same. It's still the same. And I'm like, no, it's not the same at
There's
all.
a different like intention behind it.
There's recreational
Yeah.
and professional.
Yeah.
You don't add them together. They're two very different things.
Are clients asking you this, or just people that you're dating?
People have dated friends, guy friends. I don't think clients have asked, and it's just like, why do you want to know that? Like,
I was gonna.
Go on.
Yeah, no, go on.
No, I was gonna say, in terms of you're both talking about the experiences that you had with your ex-boyfriends or whatever, but now looking back and in hindsight, what are some like qualities and attributes now you'd look for if you're gonna really try and date someone seriously with the job that you have? What type of expectations
they go to
and
therapy regularly.
prerequisites? Therapy is definitely important.
Therapy's a big one.
Would you do couples therapy with your partner?
I've done that. I did that with my ex.
partner.
So I was with a guy for 2 years, and when I was dancing, yeah, we went. He was 10 years older than me. I was like not even. I was like 20 when I met him. Yeah, we went to couples therapy with this old like.
I feel like that would be a really important aspect if I was to go and date someone in sex work.
Yeah,
I would want to. I want to go
yeah.
to couples therapy.
I think a big thing is you really do need a guy that has looked in him, like within himself, and he knows who he is as a person, is very, very confident in what his morals are and aren't, what his deal breakers are and aren't, knows how to communicate really in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
They're definitely things that are, without them, it's just not, it's going to
Have you ever been able to find someone who's been completely okay with all aspects of your life and date them?
I have, but I haven't dated them because maybe they've been in a relationship, or it hasn't been the right timing, or they live in a different state, or something like that. But there's definitely been people,
Yeah.
It's just
Have you ever been with a client? Because we were saying obviously before that you've been with clients and it's changed a lot of your perspective. Have you ever been with a client and caught feelings or ever
no, absolutely not.
No.
There's never been. Is it very easy for you to be like, this is work?
I've had
There's-
crushes for sure.
Oh, see,
I've had 2 crushes.
with me, it's kind of a mental thing, as it can be the most attractive guy ever, but the minute he is a client,
It kind of
he's a client. Yeah, that's fair.
shuts off. Like
Yeah.
I have had really, really, really hot clients with escorting, like guys that literally date supermodels in their personal life. Like they are fucking hot. Like their phone's going off with so many girls from their personal life, and I'm just like, it's like you have sex with them, and it's like I just can't.
What about the other way around?
Yeah.
Have clients then kind of wanted to date you?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I was gonna say.
What did they both of us?
We actually have a mutual client that we were sharing as like a sugar daddy situation.
Did you know they're mutual? Like you're both.
Yeah.
One second. You say a sugar daddy situation. I want to know more about this.
Oh god, it's not that interesting of a story though. I feel like
I feel like
it's-
Maybe to you
regular
it's not.
people it is.
Yeah. Like, how much is this guy providing?
God, I fucking hate him every time I think about him. He's so irritating.
solidified his conversation in fucking podcast. It's
Solidify.
Like, no, it's funny. He's just like
Oh my
such a
God.
fucking annoying little crumb of a person, and like, we had to fire him because like he started messaging me more. If I didn't answer his text, he would message me on fucking Signal or something, and then like if I didn't answer any of them, he'd just send a random fucking creepy ass dick pic. Like it was just way too much.
This guy's got good game.
Was he sending cash though? Like as a sugar daddy? I'm guessing
he
like a
was
part.
a sugar daddy without enough money, so he was trying to constantly, like for instance, he'd want to pay us in like
In
fucking
vouchers?
vouchers and shit like
in
that.
Bitcoin. He wants to give you Dogecoin.
And then when we want to
you see
leave,
the-
it'd be like, he'd like try to get us to stay X amount of hours and
Yeah, like he wanted me to stay over and then wake up and go to breakfast and then we'd go to a movie, and it was just like absolutely not.
But if he was to pay for that, would that he could?
He
could,
wouldn't, though.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh okay.
he would like, well, he was just wanting arrangements.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not-
Fair.
yeah. It's not that, I don't know. I feel like this is not a fun
He would always like he was paying my rent, and then he would like turn around and be like, "Oh well, why aren't you replying? Like I paid your rent," and it's just like,
This is part of the gig.
Yeah, the rent doesn't give you
Yeah.
conversation.
yeah, it doesn't give you access to me 24/7.
In terms of paying rent, now that you mentioned money, what kind of how do you price different scenarios? Do people pay you money for dinner, or do they pay you money for sex or
Everything.
overnight?
Every
or
minute I'm with
how,
you.
how do you tier? Is it hourly? Is it
What's like the most
Packages.
you've made in a month as well? Like what's
In a
like, or
month.
like a month, or like what's like the bigger? Yeah, like what's the most you've made in a month maybe?
or what's the most been paid by a client from one client in one
in like
like sitting?
yeah, in like what sitting.
I don't know.
Hour slot.
I don't know. I don't know what the terminology is in
See?
one package deal.
See, I hate these questions though, because then people hear it and go, "Oh my god, they must make so much money," but it's like it will be the one time in however many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So the most is probably
Is that for like a night? Let's say. Fucking hell, that is
It's a full day's
grand.
work though.
and I'm so
Having to speak to
upset
someone. You're
because
upset about 11K?
he did something very bad and now he's on the run overseas and I'm very
Oh, God.
poor.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
I'm very poor.
But then like people,
Fuck's sake, man.
I know, I'm like, can you not?
Sorry,
people's
but you
income.
said for like let's say 10 hours, but what's happening over those 10 hours?
We're drinking and doing cocaine and talking and he's on
Fuck, 10 grand for that.
Get rid of.
yes, that's
He
people
can't
that
clean all of his
yeah,
cash.
cleaning cash. But
Oh.
see, that doesn't really cover the days, weeks where I've made zero.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the industry at the moment is dead. I
Yeah.
had 2 weeks the other week
Yeah,
where
fair.
I didn't work for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so would actually lead on to this question. Then, what's kind of some of the misconceptions and the stereotypes that people have about sex work? Because in my head, I would think, oh, they'd make pretty decent money.
You think they're just bowlers?
But I also imagine there's probably quite a lot of sex workers out there, whether they're strippers, whether they're escorts. So then I guess the market's probably not big enough for the amount that there is. So you're probably going against
Not
a lot of
anymore,
people.
especially after COVID. A whole bunch of people lost their jobs. It's become cool to be a sex worker now. So you've got 20-year-olds being like, I'm a sex worker. So you've got cost of living going up, punters spending less money. You've got like an influx of girls.
OnlyFans as well, I assume. Like,
OnlyFans. And
yeah.
there's not enough work to go around.
Seeking arrangements.
Yeah,
That's
me
still
and
a thing.
myself and Anna were speaking about this the other day. Sex work has gone from, doing it and living a luxury life to literally being
Living
able
a normal
to,
life.
but yeah, it just allows you to live by yourself, not live in a share house.
The majority of sex workers, as in, so like with escorting, right, as well, this is something important to note. There's kind of like 4 sort of different types of escorts. There's like your high-end escort that you think of,
Going
which
to
is like,
Dubai.
she's doing $5,000 photo shoots. She's putting in a lot of she's always on Twitter. She's got OnlyFans. She's doing all the marketing.
Yeah.
Like it's a full. She's a
very much
career.
like
She's a
there.
career escort. She's absolutely everywhere. She's got all the plastic surgery. La la la. La. She's the one probably making a lot of money, but she's spending a lot of money to promote herself.
Yeah, it's all to
And
maintain.
she's also really public, so she's probably never going to be able to erase her presence because even if she drops off, everyone knows she was such and such. Then you've got, you know, girls that obviously work in brothels and stuff like that, who are like seeing a lot of clients. You've kind of got girls like me who sort of, I might see 3 clients in a week and then I'll escort for 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I have another income and a lot of my clients are kind of reoccurring, but they're not every week. And so I might make 4 or 5 grand in 1 week. And then every week after that, I'm making $1,000 a week.
Okay.
So it kind of evens
Levels
out
it
to like
out.
a good salary, right?
Yeah.
But for me, like I was talking about energy exchange, I just can't take on every single client. It is very competitive. I want to keep my prices high. I don't want to be all over the internet. So I'd rather just see guys here and there when I feel like I want to, and that's good extra money. But yeah, there's sort of a limit. And then there's girls that waitress, that escort.
Strip clubs, but they
Kinda
escort
like-
as well.
Yeah, they kind of escort here and there if they
They'll
like.
hang
They'll
out
be
with
on a
guys for
job, and if the
free.
guy's hot, they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'll have sex with him."
What's the obviously because we're saying, you know, the most you'll make, but you're saying that's not like all the time. What's like the average then amount you'll get for like one night, or like the amount you'll charge?
There's no average, I find.
No, just like there's no like standard night if it's like you're staying over in a hotel,
Like,
you're
I've
having sex with
literally-
them.
I've literally been at home on my couch in pajamas and then being like, I wonder how tonight's going to go. And then a few hours later, I can be a few thousand richer.
Yeah, fair.
Like,
But as in
it's-
one night,
Yeah.
like how much would you usually charge for one night, or there's no like
It
cost you could put on that?
With escorting, I mean, it can be anywhere. They can charge, it's always per hour usually.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And it can be anywhere from, say, I mean, what do escorts charge in brothels? That's like a low end of the scale, but then it can go all the way up
That
to
knows.
Stop saying prices. No.
Yeah,
No,
but it
no.
depends what you're doing. So, for instance, if I'm working privately, which is what I prefer to do, like, say if I work a Friday and I get a 2-hour booking, that's probably all I'll work. I don't really like to sleep with heaps of people in a night.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
I'll
not
just
fun.
see one guy for 2 hours. That's like I charge $7.50 per hour.
Okay.
a good
and
hourly rate.
then-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like high, but it's not like too
Yeah.
crazy. And that will be like my night. But then say if I work for someone else, I might work on what we call a companion rate, which is so the guy might want to do 1 hour full service and then he might want to do like 2 hours just hanging out.
Hang
And
out,
that will
yeah.
only be like 200 an hour.
Yeah, or like
Yeah.
go
Or
to
like
a
100
bar
an
or-
hour. Yeah. So that will be like working for someone else, I make less, but then you kind of take what you can get in a way. But yeah, when it comes to actual sex, there's definitely a minimum, and I won't go under that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I know we were talking about this before, but have you ever come across some that are just way too big?
Yeah.
See, I
3 inches is just
I-
too big.
I've definitely had big, but it's been big for clients. I always get the micro penises. Yes, they're a thing.
When you say micro
so
penis, do you
jealous.
literally like when you
Apparently,
like
they're literally like
Yeah.
nothing there.
Like, okay,
that's pretty big.
like I'm sure I have legitimately seen so many penises that you can't even give them like a hand job. It's like you need to hold them.
That is perplexing
Like,
to me.
That's look. There's no.
It's like
We're
a
not.
finger job, like a
Oh wow.
because it's so
How do you
little.
How do you have sex with
Yeah.
that?
How do you have sex with them?
Sometimes you can't. You legitimately can't.
But I'm assuming they're aware that they have a micro penis and they won't be able to have sex with you.
Yeah, you just kind of like sit on it and just like rub around a bit, and then they end up blowing, and you're like, oh, that was traumatic for everyone. Let's just pretend that.
Yeah,
What?
but a lot of the time, guys with smaller penises have more. I feel like they have
To me,
more
that's such a regular
sensation.
thing, and you guys are losing.
They have
Yeah.
more sensation. I feel because they can feel everything because it's so small.
But can you feel anything?
So it's like, okay, so we've got the really small. You're like, it's way too big. When you say like, what's the big?
Too big? Are we
too
talking
big?
like 10 inches, 12 inches?
Yeah, like 10.
But
Like
it's all about the girth as well, though, isn't it?
both.
Yeah.
Massive.
And where are they usually from? Just out of
I
curiosity.
usually fainted on the floor.
They're not.
Where are they usually? Congo or something.
Just like staring at me. They're either Jamaican or Congolese.
Yeah.
Speaking of African guys, okay, so I have these 2 guys have inquired with me a few times, but I won't see them because I'm not into this. But they're 2 men in a relationship who are both bisexual, and they've sent me photos of them and their penises. One was like a 8 inches back.
Wait, are they
thick,
dating each
and one
other?
was and one was like maybe like 12 inch, like I'm talking like a full leg, like a fucking leg. And I was like, firstly, I cannot sleep with men that sleep with each other. I'm not being homophobic. It's just I can't do that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
But also like I would literally I would need like to like insure myself after that. Like I would die.
Like you've been to surgery after you split your shit open.
What's your health insurance like? You go into that? Wow.
Yeah,
I've got a client who books me for full service, but while we're doing full service, he puts on big black cock porn, and he will say things like, "Yeah, do you reckon you could take that guy's cock?" And it's just the most like it's so fucked up. Like I've seen shit that I never wanted to see.
So here, do you? So whenever this is happening, what? Because you're obviously in a professional setting, or you just going with the flow?
Autopilot. I'm
character?
thinking about what I need to do next week. I wonder what my dog's doing.
I left the washing on. I need to figure that out.
Literally.
Not what I'm gonna eat when I get
Yes, yes. It's always
Because
like
you're fucking starving. You're like, that wrecked me.
home. Like I can't be bloated. I gotta go to work. I'm like
Yeah.
I've only had like a fucking salad for lunch. Gonna go home and eat some like
and then
bad
you're also like, oh no, I'm thinking about too much. I haven't moaned in a while. Oh,
yeah.
go back. You're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna moan. Yeah, like you need to,
It's so true.
I need to make a noise.
He's having a great
and
time.
you're just thinking about like completely different.
I used to have a hairdresser back in the day, and she one day decided that she was gonna hire an escort to come round to her house and whatever. And she was telling me the next time I saw her, because she told me about the first encounter, and she loved it. She's like, I'm gonna get it back around again. And then
I've considered this.
But there's no hot ones.
she ended up getting the escort back around again, and then had this conversation saying, look, I enjoy your energy, I enjoy our conversation, I enjoy the sex. What do you think about if we were to just make this a normal thing?
No, she went. Oh,
So they ended up like seeing each other, and she wasn't paying anymore.
And are they still seeing each other?
No, she's moved. I'm not saying where, but she's moved out of Sydney.
Oh,
but
I was gonna.
they were like seeing each other for a while, and his girlfriend was also an escort as well,
I was gonna ask them.
which I thought was very interesting.
What is the whole industry like with male escorts? Like, is it as competitive? Is
A
it
lot
as
of them
busy?
fuck men, and they lie
Right.
about it. Yeah.
And you'll find that
Yeah.
in sex
They're
work,
straight.
male
Yeah,
sex
they
work.
say that they are.
Okay.
They say they are.
Wait,
Because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no money in women.
Yeah.
There's
There's
only
more
like
money in male escorting than women escorting.
there's a massive gay like prostitution industry.
But in terms of like women hiring straight male
That's a
escorts,
very
I think
small.
I think it's
Yeah, I was
very
gonna
small, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
like middle aged
okay.
divorced women. But
I
like
don't mind
I'm
divorced
sorry,
women.
like it is really easy for men, for women to get
Yeah,
sex.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
all
it's
ages.
just yeah.
And I think as well, a lot of women, because of the Madonna Hall complex, we're kind of, it's not as much of a priority for us in our life. Like if you're a 40-year-old woman who has been married for X amount of years and you've been treated like the one who has to look after the kids, XYZ, like you kind of, you have ton, like you don't have enough insight into yourself to even think like, oh, it'd be really nice if I could have crazy sex. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't even
Yeah.
come
So
up.
so you saying that the gay male escort scene is massive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
fair.
also, like, I feel like gay guys often fetishize straight
Yeah,
men.
fair.
Straight men. So I
Right,
feel like
okay.
a lot. I'm not saying all straight male escorts do, but
Yeah.
I've seen a few that say they only service women, but then
Yeah.
I found out they also.
Well, because I was gonna say, like, a lot of my gay mates when I speak to them, they're like, "Oh, the sex scene is crazy," like, because they're like, you know,
It's just
men,
two men.
yeah, because they're like men. Men always want to shag, and so I meet another guy. They're like,
Yeah.
usually 100% of the time you go on a date with another bloke, we're shagging.
But then
So that's why I'm like,
what's interesting is in our line of work, I've seen a few clients that like shit up their ass, right?
yeah,
But like a little bit too much to the point where it's like you're gay, but you don't even want to admit that you're gay. Like you should be.
Well,
getting
they're
a male
asking you to put a
escort.
strap on.
yeah, cool. Now we're getting into this. Is what we
I
were.
I had a friend who had a boyfriend who, after a while, wanted, like, they started putting things in his bum to the point where he asked her to get a strap on and start fucking him.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm like,
I know someone that's done that as well.
Wow.
What's some of like the like strangest or most outrageous? Like, obviously for us, you know, like for us who don't know anything in that side of things, what's some of the things that have happened when you're like, fuck, this is pretty crazy. This is pretty loose.
I remember I went to a job once and it was like this 50-year-old man who was really, really bizarre. And he wanted to be on his hands and knees, and I was wearing my heels, and he asked for me to kind of like dig my heel into the side of his head. And he was like
I've seen that in movies.
He was looking up to me being like, please, mommy, like,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was just like licking my feet for ages, but like almost crying as well and saying, please, mommy, please, mommy.
It's like a
That's so-
Was that it? It's like, did you end up having, or was no? It was no sex there. They just want to be punished. Because I know some people do that. They just want to be like insulted or downgraded or like punished. So it's like,
yeah.
I think
That's
at
a
the end we did
Yeah,
end up
yeah.
having sex, but it was like 2 minutes. Most of it was
Yeah.
just that. And it was one of those things
A
where
whole
you're just
2
like, the
A
fuck is
maxis.
this? Like, what am I doing?
yeah,
Like,
fair.
this is wild.
His fetish is obviously like he just likes to be in pain.
I
and
know-
to be ridiculed.
I know someone that
Dirty pig.
told me there was someone. It's called like a something pig, where it's like a pay pig or something.
pay pig.
Where it's like someone
Pretend he
basically.
doesn't know what it is.
Basically, this person who isn't me whatsoever. Yeah, this person is definitely not me. But they basically have people call them up and like threaten to tell their friends and family about that life, and
Yeah.
so they send them money and they just want to be bribed. And this person I know was doing it. They weren't even having sex with this person.
No.
They're
It
just
was
like
literally
chatting.
the
Yeah, you're
thrill of
scumbag.
like, I'm like, what? And they were just sending them hundreds and thousands, just like they just want to be insulted.
That's
Have you
very
ever
big
come
in the
ac-
gay scene.
Really?
So, yeah, so I've heard. Yes.
There must be a lot. Like I was thinking, someone, you know, like for that to be like what you want, there must be some like
I was
psychological
gonna
issues
say
there.
that. I was
Where you just
fine
want
with
someone to insult you, like for a whole night. There's a lot there.
Yeah, I
feel.
always find whenever people have those weird, intense fetishes where they want to be ridiculed or beat up, I'm
Mm.
like, what
What's
happened to you
Yeah,
that makes this enjoyable?
you just want to be like, yeah, like
Like, have you ever? Because obviously, like your situation there, I don't know if you've had the same, Anna, but have you ever been in that situation and thought, "Whoa, this is just a bit too weird for me"? Like,
oh, here we go. Yeah, we want to know, like, have you had a line that you didn't want to like?
have you had a line where you're like, "Okay, this just
is
seems a bit
much.
too much for me"?
I was in a booking and we were fucking, and he was just like, wow, I realized who you look like. And I was like, who? And he's like, my sister. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I was just like,
Wow.
It's like once he realized,
You got like extra horny.
yes. And then I didn't see him again. He wanted to see me. And I was like, nope.
That is so odd.
But then you've got like, and this is really fucked up too.
That threw me off big time. I was like, oh my god, that is fucking.
You so odd.
Oh,
Seriously.
I did not see that going.
There's heaps of fucked up shit. Like clients will look for girls. They will specifically request girls that look younger.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
definitely
Wait,
Yeah.
man.
as in like
As in
teenage looking.
this,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like teenage porn is massive, isn't it? Where it's like
So I've
teenage
heard.
and a stepdad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like what's the oldest person you've slept with? Do you have like a limit or?
73?
Wow.
It's me.
And I remember thinking, oh my god, 30.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was like, motherfucker, don't you have a heart attack right now?
Think about all the accident reports
wants-
you have to fill out.
He wanted to do some crazy position. Like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You're not going to make it.
He was so lovely though. I remember he was so lovely. He tipped me really well.
course he was back
Super
in his day.
respectful. Like, lovely man.
Oh, that's nice.
What about
Anna?
Rihanna?
Yeah,
I
Anna,
think your
yeah.
stories are so much more crazy than mine.
It would be you get the like concerned. I get the fucked up shit.
Look, I get some pretty good. I get like the Italian, Greek, Aussie guys are like 20, 28 or something, and are like just been out and are like
nice.
free. It is nice.
babe.
It is nice. It's fucking amazing.
Meanwhile, I do this so they look like he's sick.
Okay,
It's like Jess just going to therapy after all the
with
experiences.
is in his early 50s, but he definitely looks younger. Yeah.
I fucked
And
heaps old
he
dudes.
definitely looks younger, and he's got a massive cock. So
You look so happy about that. It's like,
My clientele.
she's like rubbing her hands thinking about it.
I really need to. I need to.
I'm like, surely all girls got this.
But our shared client is definitely a tragedy. So
Have you ever gone to a
not
client?
every
Because you said
client's
you
good.
share. Have you ever gone to a client together or like with someone else, or is it always just one
Yeah.
person?
Oh no, yeah, heaps. I used to have 2 girlfriends that they were like my work doubles partners.
Okay.
So like for threesomes and stuff, they were my girls.
Yeah, cool.
And they're really funny because you're like in your threesome, and then like you give each, like if he's looking away or his head's elsewhere, and you'll like look at each other and you'll be like, or something weird's happened, you're like to each other, like very
You
funny.
have conversations as well when they can't see your faces.
Yeah, or you'll be like kicking her leg, like doing something, and then you'll be like it's the time, bitch,
That
like
is so joke.
yeah, and he's like having the time of his life.
Yeah, because I'm guessing as well, like you don't want them to see you checking the clock, so because otherwise it can
Might
ruin
ruin
it for
the
them.
dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's almost like, well, I've been in therapy before, and you catch the therapist just checking the time. You're like, you're all right, you fucking good.
You know what
They've
has
got a
been
schedule.
life changing for
They
that?
normally put the clock behind you though.
Yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah, that's
So they cannot look at it.
The like kind of newer digital the bloody
Apple Watches.
yeah, like an Apple Watch or the what do you call it?
Fitbit?
Yeah, like a smartwatch.
Yeah.
They've got like a motion thing so that when you flip your wrist like that,
Mine does that. It lights
it
up.
lights up,
Yeah.
and they are life changing.
thanks, Apple, making
like-
sex work easier.
Literally,
Yeah.
you don't have to be like, oh, what's you just and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, got it, life changing.
Guys have been doing I guess the sex work thing for what, since 20 and since 21, so almost 10 years then. What's the difference between, I guess, your understanding of intimacy and relationships since you've actually started in that? What's changed? What's like changed since the start of it compared?
Oh, I think how disposable it all is.
In terms of what? Sorry.
Like, when you're younger, you kind of have this idea that if you're in a partnership with someone, like that's like you're in a partnership with them. But now I understand that you can be in a partnership with someone, but they can also be fucking like heaps of escorts. Like everything's very disposable, and like you can literally buy anything.
So do you mean it's almost like tainted
Yeah,
your viewpoint of it?
absolutely. I think I always get, I wouldn't say sad, but I'm just like, we see men in a completely different light to how society sees them generally. Like we see them in a really like doing their weirdest shit or like and it's like it's a very privileged position to be in, but also a very sad one to see society and people for what they are and what they are capable of doing. And
Does that ever make you want to stop?
the damage is done.
She's too far, dude. She's too far.
We're 10
think
feet.
the
You
thing
might as well
is,
keep going. You might as well keep going.
I've got like so many civ friends that will go on a date with a guy,
What? Sorry?
like civilian friends,
Oh,
like
civilian.
non-sex worker
Oh, okay.
friends.
That's what we call like regular people.
And
We
it's
are
just
civilians.
like- it's just, I feel like there's just not a lot out there. Like I'm like, so many of my friends are so attractive, have good jobs, and they just get such the bare minimum. And I'm like, this is what. And then whenever I've had breaks from escorting and I've been dating, sometimes I blame it on my job, but I'm like, my friends that don't do this are having the same experiences.
Yes.
And I'm like, and then I, when I work bucks parties and stuff like that, if I'm just waitressing or if I'm stripping, I'm not escorting. I think like 20% of men are actually excited to get married. And the other 80% are either just doing it. Like a lot of men get married or commit because they're like, this is the age that I want to commit, and she's a woman that is in front of me right now.
Facts.
And it's
Yeah.
like, maybe the woman of their dreams was actually 5 years ago, but then they didn't have the finances, this and that. When men feel secure in themselves is often, or the pressure from family is often when they actually want to commit. And it's really sad when you are seeing so many men who are just, they're more excited about their bucks than their wedding. But then that little 20% who like, they're happy that you're there and they're like nice to you and stuff, but they're like, they're so excited to get married and so in love.
It's so that is
And you're
really
like,
cute.
that's what like gives me the hope that there is somebody really
Okay.
decent out there.
Like it's very rare, but when you do see it, it's very, very precious.
Yeah.
I think you made a good point there. When it comes to dating and the fact that you're saying how men usually don't end up with the one, they just end up with the person that's there at the time when they're ready for a relationship. Because I find that so true. People get to a certain point where they're like, okay, I've got the money, I've done all the fun, now I'm gonna find a girl, and they may just like get to a point and they meet this girl, like, okay, you'll do. Like,
Meanwhile, on their bucks night, they will pay you to fuck,
yeah.
and they will keep seeing you after they get married.
And that's where the Madonna whore complex comes in too, because often the girl they settle with, she's pretty enough for them to be happy to be seen with. And she can look sexy when she tries, but she's not a girl often that guys look at on the street and go, wow, I want to F that.
Fuck yeah.
Because like men kind of like, men want to come home. A lot of men want to come home and not feel like they have to put on an act for a woman, and a very attractive, successful woman. And I think that's where my friends who don't do this for work also have the problem. They're attractive. They've got a good job. They've got like high levels of education. Men know that when they come home from work, they have to bring like some game. Whereas like a girl that's easier, she's simpler. She's pretty, but she's not glamorous. Like she's easy to come home to.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's cooking dinner. She's looked after the kids. She's very much that like stable base.
Yeah.
Of like a traditional family.
Yeah. And then they can have that like lust kind of like visual experience by like porn or cheating on her.
Yeah, like a lot of clients will tell me like, oh yeah, me and my wife probably have sex once a month and it's like missionary lights off. But they'll come to you and do like the wildest shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I've asked like, oh, have you done this with your wife? Or they're like, oh no, of course not.
That's so odd.
Like that's my wife. And it's like,
Do you find that when you first told your friends about it, is there how did your friends take the like did they know first of all, and how
do your family know?
Do you find that's do your family know? Do your friends know? Did that create any kind of rift in the beginning or anything? Yeah, what's kind of been
with stripping, it was, I had heaps of friends that were already in the industry. Is kind of normal. With escorting though, it's something that only a few of my close friends knew, and they were usually girls that I escorted with. And maybe like one other friend. It was just like people knew I was going to work, but you know, they was just like, oh, stripping. And it's only probably the past year or two that I've been more open with a few more friends about it. And it's not because, you know, I think they're going to judge me or anything. It's just, a lot of it was I didn't want them to worry, because a lot of friends do get worried. They're like, you're literally going to a random place to meet up with a random man. Like, that's insane.
Like around the
It
hotel.
is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Has it always
And that-
been? Have you ever felt in a position where you've been compromised?
Yes, absolutely. Probably 4 years ago, I was at a private party job stripping, and I got locked in a bathroom, sexually assaulted by this huge guy. And and then there was another time where this guy like spun out, locked all the doors, was letting like none of the girls out, was like wielding a knife. Like, yeah, we seen some shit.
I've only ever really,
Must be nice.
when it comes to
Nice guy. He was so sweet.
No. I've only ever seen bad things on stripping and waitressing jobs. There's never been escorting jobs. Is what I'm going to say.
What's the worst thing that's happened then during stripping?
Well, with my agency, there's been a couple of close calls. Like, there's been clients of mine that have, like, girls have, like, for instance, one example that's pretty horrific. I had a client that I met at the strip club before, just like not long before it closed down, that I was working at, and he was like a night trader, and he trades like I don't know, no, like trading, like stocks and stuff. Stock, yeah. That's when he trades. Yeah, apparently, and that's when the market. That's the market, right? The economy that he's trading in is,
New York probably.
So anyways, he trades, and he was like, oh yeah, I used to be a stripper, whatever, and he was just paying me he was just tipping me. We never went for a dance or anything, and he seemed nice. And then we got each other's numbers, because you can do that at the club. And then I don't know how, but he figured I had an agency, and then he's like, oh, I want to book a girl. So he books a girl, and he's like, I'll book her full service. He's like, actually, I just want to go to the pub. So she goes to the pub, and she's literally like, she meets him there. She gets paid 2 hours full service just to literally sit there clothed, which is like $1,000. But then eventually he's like, he's with a friend. He's like, let's go back to my place. So she goes back to his place, and there is literally needles. There is an ice pipe. There is, and his dying mother, who's like hooked up to all these machines, is in another room. And thankfully, like, this is why I tell girls, and you'll notice I'm not blaming women here, but the majority of women that stay safe at work are sober. And thankfully she was like really switched on sober. She's like, don't stress, but I'm actually just leaving this situation, and like I'm always on my phone. So whenever a girl's working for me, It doesn't matter if it's 4 a.m.
Yeah,
Like
you've got
my
your
phone
phone
is
by you
always
there.
there, and this is why my sleep schedule is cooked. But yeah, like it was so fucked up. And then I had another client. Like he was my client for like 3 years. He always booked girls with me. This Islander guy, literally my favorite client. Every time I sent girls to him, they're like, he is the best. He just give me money. He'd be like, here's some money, just go buy some shoes. Like, nicest guy. Just was like, oh, I just want the girls to sit there. They don't even need to do anything. One day he was drinking, and I was like, I never realized that he was never a drinker. And he just like, alcohol just like spun him off, and he tried to fight a girl. He started saying, you're talking about my dead sister. He started like flipping it.
Yeah,
and
guys,
because
flip out.
alcohol
What
was,
happens when this
alcohol was his
happens?
trigger.
What happens in this?
Well,
like,
in this situation, I was lucky because his cousin was there, who's like always sober, and he stopped him. And he's like
That
6'5"
insane.
or something. Like he's this massive Islander guy, and the nicest. He's always been the nicest person to me. And she's
Maybe that's
tiny
why he
little-
just never drank ever,
Yeah.
because he probably knows that alcohol affects him that way, so he just
The
never did
problem
that.
is he'd gone to Queensland, and so he always books with me here in Sydney. And when you go on a holiday, you go into that holiday mentality.
Free.
So he's like, he didn't have any coke on him, and he's like, oh, I'm in Queensland, we're going pub hopping, and like he was like drinking more. So
Wow.
yeah,
There's been probably 2 situations I know of girls that I know or friends of friends in the industry where they've been at a job and the wife has come home and like beat the shit out of the girl.
Fuck.
There was one, I'm going to say this in a way that no one will know who I'm talking about, but there was a situation where a girl was doing a full service job, this really, really rich guy. Wife came home, absolutely fucking belted her, like went nuts, belted her. She needed to go to hospital, and then, yeah, the husband obviously didn't want her to go to the police because it would be all over the news,
Yeah.
whatever. So he tried to give her like
Paid her off.
20K, yeah, to not do it, and she didn't take it.
They should go to the police.
Fuck.
I'll be googling the news later. See if I can find any content.
Well, I was sorry, go on.
A girlfriend of mine as well, she was at a job, and you know when you get a puppy and you can get those like pet cams
Mm,
to like watch your puppy?
yeah.
The guy forgot to turn it off. So so the wife has seen it, come home and just lost it. Was like, my girlfriend was like trying to get dressed, like get her shit. This chick was like throwing shoes at her, like, get out of my house, you fucking
That's the
slut.
same people
Like,
are doing it in their own house though as well, when they've got like a partner or a family. I would find, like, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be doing my own home. I don't
oh my
think.
god, that reminds me. So my old regular, really attractive guy, right?
One second. Is that still running? Yeah. You go to. Yeah, sweet. Yeah.
He was like, I think the second time, like, I'd always come to his house, but his mum was always away because she had a boyfriend. He lives in like this massive mansion at his mum's house, right? I know, going to the mum's house. Anyways, yeah, the second time we slept together, and so many bedrooms in the house, by the way, so many beds. He wanted to fuck
In his mom's bed.
Yeah.
I swear there seems to be a regular correlation.
Mum's bedroom.
Oh.
There seems to be a weird correlation between a lot of these men and having a weird ass
Might
like,
be issue.
fetish.
If he wasn't attractive, I definitely wouldn't have seen him again.
Yeah,
And
people
he did
pretty
pay.
privileged.
He was never one of those like, give me a free half an hour types. But
It's like
that
when-
was really fucked up.
you do it, and you're doing it like at like the house of him and his partner on their bed, and they're like wedding photos on the bedside table, and you're just like,
Oh.
and like you get up and then you walk past the kids' room, and you're like,
Oh my god. I've got a question. Probably almost to like maybe like round out everything. What do you think we need to do in society to, I guess, better understand or acknowledge like sex work and what it really is, and to have people have people having a very healthy understanding of it? What do you think needs to change?
I think the first thing would be to, I feel in a way we're quite kind of dehumanized a lot of the time. Definitely at work, but in outside work as well. And that comes back to the Madonna Hall complex of we're never seen as a full person. We're seen as the whore. Yeah, a novelty. And we're not a novelty. Like, we're literally regular people. And like, we're fucking smart. We've got a whole bunch of interests. Like, we might have another job. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff to us rather than what we do, how we look, all the rest of it. So yeah, just fucking treat us like a human.
What about you, Anna?
I have a completely different opinion.
Go on.
I think that the fact that women, like I said, I don't like to be an advocate for sex work because I feel like the reason why so many women are getting into it, and like we're talking about before, and like the majority of girls that are in this, they're not in this to make a lot of money. They're in this to make a little bit of money on the side because their income only allows them to pay their bills. And in the standards of today, women need to have, and men say, oh no, you don't. Women get their nails done, they get their hair done, they might get a bit of Botox, they might get their boobs done. And to be honest, as a woman, these things do progress you in life. And it's superficial, but it's like women's looks are like men's money.
Yeah.
And where does this money come from?
It's the patriarchy.
You have 3 options. You have a rich family, a rich boyfriend, or you have to do sex work.
Yeah. It's also
And
the thing.
it's just like,
men want a girl that looks a certain way, but don't appreciate how much it costs
To get there.
to get there. So they want you to look a certain way, but you can't do sex work. But you can't have a really powerful job either, and you can't be too they want you to be this, but you can't be too much of like.
exactly. And if you want to get a job, like if you want to be in a profession that pays well, like the profession I'm going into pays pretty decently, it's 7 years of study. How the hell am I supposed to do that?
With what, sorry?
I'm studying psychology.
Oh, cool. Yeah, nice.
So thank you. And say if I did like medicine or law, anything like that, it's like a
do you pay
really
for
long. Yeah, if you want to make good money legitimately, how do you pay for that? How do you have the time? You've got to get good grades too. You can't just like pass. Like,
But
you
then
know what I mean?
again-
It's like, how do you progress yourself in life unless you've got like, money to back you? And I feel like a lot of women are getting into sex work, not because like it's liberating or anything, but just because they're like, well, they're like, well, if I need to like live up to the standards of society, like, how do I afford to look good? How do I afford to do anything?
So do you
So-
think if people were to decide to go into sex work, you would recommend that I won't say recommend, but they should go in it full to make good money? Or do you think it's okay to just want to do that bit extra on the side?
I think it's different for everybody, but I think if you're going to do it, you need to understand that people are going to find out. Obviously, I'm not being public here today.
Yeah.
But it's like people are going to find out. And I don't know, I think we're going back to the question you originally asked about what do I think society should think. I think that, there's an issue in society, a lot of which is fueled by social media, that's putting pressure on all of us, women and men. And that is what is fueling so many women to get into sex work. And men are also less interested in relationships and less interested in being masculine and actual masculinity, and happy for women to dominate. So women there's not as much traditionalism where men are like taking care of women. And I feel like a lot of women are having to be hyper independent. And so they're like, well, if I have to do sex work to make money, then that's what I'll do.
Do you think there is also an issue there where it comes to the social media aspect of it, where people are seeing girls doing OnlyFans or doing the sex work, and they're probably
The
only,
glamorous
they're
side.
looking at the top 10% of them thinking, that's going to be me. This OnlyFans girl just bought a new house with 5 bedrooms, and they're thinking, I can do that. But really, that's like the top 5%. And they're having to do quite a lot to get to that point. They don't realize it when they get into it, that there's more to it than
and
There
that.
are people that I
I've
know
had
who
the
make
girls
like fuck
actually-
all doing OnlyFans.
That's
Like
the
the amount
thing,
of
I-
work and graft.
I think
Yeah.
especially over the past few years, it gets so glamorized, and that will literally be 5% of people in that industry. And
The rest of you are just like battling out for the rest of it.
like
I don't even think 5 would be like 0.000.
Yeah, it's probably less than 5%. Yeah.
like they get into it without seeing the side where something does go wrong at work, or you're put in a really compromised situation, or you're treated quite differently by men in your personal life because you do that for work. Like they just see the glamorous stuff, and they don't see the whole like negative connotations that come with that.
And I've heard as well, like with a lot of OnlyFans girls, like the moment they don't have like a new creator to work with, or they're not doing something more extreme, their income just drops. And so they're constantly having to like one up themselves. And
They keep dropping prices like massively.
even in our job, we have to have a boundary between our personal life. But imagine you're on your phone 24/7, sexually texting, sending sexual photos, taking sexual videos, doing porn, often without condoms. Like I know they say they get checked and stuff, but they're not using condoms because apparently like viewers don't like to see that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's like 24/7 your life, and it may or may not work out. And a lot of creators don't start making serious money for like a year or so, and
It's a big
like,
risk going into something like that, like anything in life where there's the market's massive, but it's also still saturated, and there's so much competition that people don't realize, actually, if I'm going to do this, what are going to be the repercussions moving forward? Like, what do I want to do? How am I going to be viewed? And I think if people don't think, and I'm all for it, just doing what you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone. But I think when people are making certain decisions to do things in life, it's so important to ensure that the decision that they're making is for them, and that they're also aware of like what the future is going to look like. Do you have a plan? Do you know where you want to be? Do you know how much money you want to make to be comfortable doing this? Have you set the boundaries early on so that when you get into a position, you don't have to then battle with yourself, but am I okay with this? Am I not? So I think those are really key pillars that people should maybe think about before they end up
You see it
going
quite
into that
often.
realm.
Like girls that are really young will get into sex work without thinking about those bigger things, and in a few years, you know, they have addiction issues, their mental health's really bad, they're making really dangerous decisions. Like it can literally ruin your life, and I don't think that the younger girls coming into it understand that at all. They just see it as like, oh, I will look cool on Instagram, or you know, like, oh, everyone's doing OnlyFans. But they don't understand how much it can impact your life for the rest of your life as well.
So is there an end goal you almost have going into this? Like, what's the kind of...
I wouldn't say an end goal. I mean, I've always had a career job, I suppose you could call it.
Is there a job you do on the side? Is there another, like a form of income you get?
Yeah. So, I was... I'm going to say it in a way that people would know it's me.
yeah, I feel like people would guess.
I was working kind of in like the social justice realm. So
Okay.
at one
Yeah,
point,
cool.
like I had a government job,
Okay.
but I was like escorting and stuff on the side.
Yeah, okay.
So I wouldn't say there's particularly an end goal with sex work. It's kind of to just be able to live the life that I want at this age.
Yeah, cool.
Like I've done stuff that people on a regular income would have never been able to do.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my goal, to just enjoy my life.
I like that.
What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. I mean, like I said before, I'd love to make tons and tons of money, but what people don't see is the fact that I would have to be taking on absolutely any client,
Yeah.
and I would end up hating myself.
Yeah.
Like, I would have to do things that I don't want to do. I know girls say, I make all this money. It's like all those girls that are making that much money
Are probably doing
are
things they don't
taking
wanna
on
do.
a lot of clients, and a lot of clients that are
Weird as fuck.
Well, you-
that are weird, that are on a lot of drugs, like all these sorts of things that I don't want to do.
I mean, you
So,
started your own, like, when did you start your own agency? Because you've got
like
your own...
3 years ago.
Yeah,
More?
cool.
Yeah.
And then how many people then would you have, like, working under you?
So probably like 400. They kind of all work for different agencies, but then you've got girls that mainly work for you, and so that's always something like. And with that as well, like I might make a few thousand one week.
It's like
and then,
a modeling agency kind of thing,
Yeah.
where you
Okay,
just have
fine.
loads of
Yeah.
people in your database.
Yeah.
So if someone wants a Latino
Yeah.
with big tits that
Because
you know,
everyone's a
Cool.
contractor.
But
Yeah,
the
cool.
thing
Because I
is-
heard
Contract.
400. I was like, you have 400
But
employees.
your job,
massive.
they're not employees. It's
Yeah.
like your job is to really like.
There's so
I
much
know
you
a
have
lot
to-
of them.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of them, and I go to a lot of jobs, and I actually get to know them because clients, when they ask for referrals, I want them to be genuine, and that's kind of why I don't take a lot of bookings unless it's for Sydney clients in other states, because I don't know the girls.
Yeah.
Like I know the girls that are in New South Wales.
What's that process when you're like putting someone under your agency? Like, what are the kind of qualifications you go through to make sure, like, A, they're right for you, they're right for your clients? Like, what does that process look like?
They get brought into the industry,
Okay.
and then obviously we agencies kind of work together in a way, so we
Cool.
give each other feedback.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that like the girl looks like her photos. If one of us hasn't met her, maybe another one of us has, and we kind of talk about that. Like me and Jess, we both talk about it with our clients, like give each other feedback. Just going to jobs and like actually getting to see them, getting to know them, and obviously like telling clients too. Like he'd be like, "Oh, what do you think about her?" And I'll be like, "To be honest, she's brand new, so I don't know yet. You have to be honest."
interesting.
Is there anything that you've heard on the flip side of a sex worker, like a story that they've done that's pretty fucked up, or like really, obviously we spoke about clients, where they've like done something or like they've done something really weird, like a new girl that you've brought in and they're like fucking
oh
up.
my God, I've got
They
the
did
best
so-
story. I've got the best story. Okay.
There we go.
So my best friend referred this client to me, and he wanted to book some girls up in like, I think it was like the Hawkesbury or something. Anyway, it's really hard to get decent girls in kind of hard areas because all the really booked girls just want to work around the city where they live. Like they're like don't need to travel hours. So I kind of just had some random girls, and I was like, he's like, do you recommend anyone? I was like, look, like not really. There's not many options, to be honest. Anyways, he booked a few girls, and then the next day he calls me and he's like, you know that girl that you sent me? He's like, they had an Airbnb, and later on a couple of girls ended up coming, as in just normal civilian girls, right? And one of them was laying in like the bunk bed in one of the rooms. Did I tell you this story? And the worker comes in into the room, and she thinks that the friend of his is asleep, yeah? She drops her pants in the middle of the room and just pisses on the floor. And then they had to tell the Airbnb owner that a feral cat.
So this girl's just laying there while this girl's just pissing.
Literally. Oh, the
What
bathroom's
the
right there, by the
hell?
way. The bathroom is right there.
I don't like on the floor.
Is
And
it like a
client
power
confronted
control?
her. He's like, why did you piss? He's like,
Yeah.
I want you to leave. Why did you piss in the room?
Why did she do
And
that?
then she's like, I'm going to go. And they had to tell the Airbnb people that a cat came in and peed on the floor.
Why did she pee on the floor then?
I don't know.
That is so jokes.
It's funny. It's funny.
Does anyone get asked to do that? Like piss on, like, has anyone ever been asked like to piss on someone? Did like
I'm
the
sure that
client
happens.
have
I had a
to,
friend
like-
who pissed in
Yeah,
her
yeah,
client's
yeah.
mouth at the
I've
strip
done that.
club.
Yeah.
nice.
Is that like an extra? I was like, they.
That's an add-on, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
What,
shit
what,
is
what would be the average?
$60,
What would be
thank
like?
you.
What would be like the dollar amount they you would charge for that?
Oh, I think they charge like an extra like 350.
Fuck.
Just for pee.
Fuck.
Just for passing through urination.
That's some pricey pee.
It's kind of like my only thing was I was like, we're doing this in a shower. Book a hotel with a massive shower that you can lay down in because I'm not fucking dealing with cleaning this
Yeah,
shit
that's
up.
fair. That's fair.
And then it was just like over real quick, and it was just like, oh, that was dumb. But okay, you do you, boo.
That was so
That's
jokes.
so funny.
I think we're good.
Yeah,
Thanks for
that
the
is,
great conversation.
guys. That has been absolutely incredible. Yeah,
I thought it'd be alright.
This has been. You guys have been great.
Talk shit all day about this.
You guys have been great. This
This has been eye opening.
Yeah,
I've
this
loved it.
this has been this has been wicked. Yeah.
See, it's always like such a interesting reminder talking to people who don't do this work or don't have much info about it, because to us,
It's just
this
normal
is,
to
this
you,
is what we talk about every day
Yeah.
with each other.
but it's all baffling to us.
Yeah, like this is just a regular conversation, but to other people, it's like, oh my god. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. If you've gotten this far, thank you
Yeah.
for listening. I hope you've been entertained because I have been.
Oh,
entertained.
this has been great.
This has been
This has been.
I love it.
Hopefully, we get more people who just want to come on and talk about all this. This is great.
It's good.
Absolutely love this.
I would say what's your social handles to push you back. It's anonymous.
Escorts out there.
Yeah.
Come on and do something like
Yeah,
this.
we'll have to have
Please.
male escorts on for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, everyone. As usual, follow us on all our socials. We've got TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all that beautiful stuff.
Like, share, subscribe, and let us know and recommend us if you know anyone who would be great to come on this. You know, send us a message, send us a DM, and we'll reach out and do all the legwork.
And keep sending us your stories. Thank you.
Peace and love.
Thank you, guys.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Party people